Jay here for Stretford Paddock. That's Scotty. Manchester United and Aston Villa drawing 0-0 at Villa Park. The big question is, where does this leave both United and the manager? It is officially our worst ever Premier League start. Also, Scotty, you've just sent me a lovely little stat here, just to warm my cockles after what was one of the most boring games of football I've ever seen. A result that means Manchester United have scored 5 in 7, their lowest ever at this stage, after 72-73, in which they were relegated. Yeah, interesting one, that. After which they were relegated. Right, okay. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know what you think. What do you make of that game, Scotty?
I think that was probably one of the most nondescript games of football that I've had to, I'm not even going to say watch, endure, because for large parts it felt like I was here for punishment, like I'd upset you and you were making me sit through it and watch, because absolutely nothing happened throughout. There was a chance earlier on for Rashford that Martinez easily saved, and then Villa, in the last minute, could have scored if it wasn't for the back of Diogo Dalot. But apart from that, there was absolutely nothing in it. So I don't know if you can read much into that game in terms of, where it leaves Ten Hag, or has he got them, firing on all cylinders after recent bad performances? Because on that performance, it didn't look like players were throwing the manager under the bus. It didn't look like they were resigned to sort of, we'll get beat and he'll be gone. It wasn't that. But on the same token, it wasn't, we're going to try and save the manager's job. It was just very monotonous, mundane game of football, and like I said, you had to endure it rather than enjoy. Yeah,
you did. Also, that stat is from The Guardian, and it's wrong. United didn't get relegated in 72-73. We got relegated in 73-74, and I know because I remember it well. Let me know in the chat in the comments what you think. Do you agree with what Scotty's saying there? I think it was a bit of an endurance test watching that. Did United need that? Did United need just to not get battered, or did we need more than that? Let me know what you think, because no one's going to be celebrating a 0-0. I'm going to get some quotes in a minute. But was it just a case of, all right, let's just not get beaten, then we'll build on it from there? Or did we need to see something that was a bit better? Des McCourt, who's been a member of the first team, or was new to the first team, welcome. Thomas Grant, welcome to the academy. Full-time Production says, as a United fan, I'm beyond angry, beyond frustration. I'm close to not caring. I'm numb and feel all joy in supporting this club has left me. Akash K says, completely toothless from United. Ahmad is leaving now. Brian Doyle says, we are Frankenstein's monster. Cobbled together mess. Kid Magnifico says, we are 14th FFS. Enter the Voice says, poor considering we haven't won in 5. If we were on a run, then a draw is good. Sam Pilger, who's a friend of the channel, who's a journalist I respect greatly. He's written loads of United books, and he writes for 442 and Forbes and stuff in The Athletic. And he said, United struggled to score goals all last season. And so for the only solution this summer to be the signing of Joshua Zirkzee, a non-scoring forward who has never been prolific and has just 1 goal in 10 games so far this season, was spectacularly ill-judged. In the past, Scotty, we've made chances, haven't we? And Zirkzee's maybe been a bit wasteful. I know he didn't start today, so I don't want to blame him. But we didn't create a lot today, did we, Evo? It wasn't like we had a lot of chances. I think Marcus had a couple of shots, and that was about it?
That was about, I think Rashford had a shot from outside the box in the second half, and that was probably
one in the first half, one in the second one.
Half, and then there was the free kick from Bruno that hit the bar. But in terms of chance creation, this isn't a new problem.
No.
This was there last year. You know what I mean? Like, we look at Rashford not being able to get more than 7 goals last year, and I think Højlund put up similar sort of numbers. It's as much about having the chance creation as it is having the, strikers can only score goals if they get the ball to them in a situation where they can put the ball in the back of the net. So whilst you can look at the Zirkzee signing as being a little bit odd, what was also odd today is that at his disposal, am I right in saying, outside of Luke Shaw, Erik ten Hag had a full squad, more or less, to choose from.
Yeah,
he didn't choose his centre-back pairing that we were hoping were going to be the foundation that we were going to build into this new future by starting De Ligt and Martinez. Martinez didn't even get onto the pitch at all. Ugarte didn't come on. Maino went off injured, got Casemiro on. Eriksen started. What does that mean for him? He's not up to pace, so you've got to look at that signing. Why was that not made earlier? So if he needed to get up to fitness to bring him into Old Trafford. So there's lots of stuff there, and I don't think Ten Hag can be looking at any excuses as to the type of football we're playing, because by and large, outside of the cup final, it has been for a very long time as monotonous and hard to watch and an endurance test as today as it was last season. It's just for me, it's way too far past for him to hope that a draw keeps him in his job. And I've only briefly looked on social media I know people saying that that's a good point, and I'm sorry, and this might be me being a selfish blinker Manchester United fan, but the fact that you're celebrating a 0-0 draw away at Aston Villa is just how low we fell in our expectations. We should be going there regardless about what sort of form they were. And that was an Aston Villa team that played well, by the way. Do you know what I mean? If we upped our game, maybe create more chances, they were there for the taking. It's not like it was a hard fought 0-0 that we needed to, throw everyone behind the ball. We could have won the game. But it's just, I think our ambition as a fan base has been beat out of us of 10-year mediocrity, that a 0-0 draw against Villa that to some fans may look like a good result. For me, it's not as pathetic as the football has been for a hell of a long time.
I think it's the other way around, I think if you go back to sort of the Fergie era or whatever, or when you were successful, you could look at maybe a draw at Villa Park being all right. I think now, it's not because of the situation we're in. Now it's almost because you need points that this doesn't help you really. But just saying that on that front, Laurie Whitwell says, on an occasion, Laurie is another one I respect, an occasion that will slip from the mind quickly, which is what we've all agreed, but significant nonetheless for Erik ten Hag. A competent United, after the chaos of Spurs and Porto, should ease the pressure a little. So Jim Ratcliffe watched from the stands, now on to meetings in Manchester and London. So Laurie's sort of indicating that he feels that might have eased the pressure on Erik ten Hag. And I don't know if that's just his opinion or if he's got any insight. We'll have to wait and see. We do chat to Laurie quite a lot, and I will be chatting to him very soon. So we'll find out what his sort of take on that is. But it'll be interesting to see whether that does come into Ineos' thinking, whether they look at it as though Laurie's suggesting there is that's just a little bit of a, okay, let's just calm down a bit, or whether they've already made their mind up. We know with the meetings, because this has been widely reported that Ineos are going to have a meeting, I think, with Joel Glazer next week. Apparently that was already in the diary. So it's not necessarily a crisis meeting to decide the manager's future. And also, I don't think Erik ten Hag is involved in that meeting. But we will see. And obviously, it would be insane for the manager's future not to be on that agenda, even if it wasn't planned to be. Yep. You've got to discuss it when your team's sat in 14th and we've had our worst starting goal scoring since 72, 73. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know what you think. I love this one. Nish says, Jay, winning football games is just a far-right agenda, and we at United just do not believe in all that bollocks. Zen, I love that. Jesus Christ says, I remember everyone calling for open heart surgery, 4-year rebuild, etc., etc. This is what it looks like. Stay calm and let the club rebuild. Mayor Amateur says, touching on the front four and inability to pass the ball, I fully get that they need to make something happen, but they just do the same thing, fail to see simple options and expect different outcomes. It's one of them. Let me know what you think. Hit that like button as well, please, people. Over 3,000 people watching. Let's get to 1,000 likes. If you're watching now, just hit that like button. Michael Kane says Rashford should have been sent off. Sick of football. Lirone Venado says Ineos could have bought in a 9 but didn't. Jesus Christ says negativity from our own fans is sad. Players look stressed on the pitch. I can imagine it's the pylon in the media. We're meant to protect our team. I think you can protect the team, but also be honest about what you expect and what you're seeing at Manchester United. We're 14th after 8 games, whatever it is. Is it 8 games or 7 games? Sorry, I should know this. And we've scored 5 goals. That's not good enough, right? It isn't. Like, I don't care whether you back the team or whatever, or you love this manager. 7 games, sorry, forgive me. That isn't good enough when sort of 60% of your goals this season have come against Southampton in the Premier League. That ain't good enough. And we can't sugarcoat that. That needs to be addressed. Now, you might go and look at this result in isolation and go, well, a point at Villa Park, it's not in the world. But you're looking at the context of the season, it's the same old problems. We ain't scoring enough goals. Defensively, we've not been amazing, but we've had 2 bad games defensively against Spurs and against Liverpool, where there's a lot of individual errors in those games as well. But defensively, it's been so-so. Attack-wise, it's been woeful. That has been a massive issue for Manchester United. And if you look now, Manchester United have scored 5 goals. And just to sort of give you a hint of how bad that is, or more than a hint, Ipswich have scored 6, right? No disrespect to Ipswich, but Ipswich Town after 7 games should not be scoring more goals than Manchester United, yeah? I mean, Wolves are bottom and they've scored 6. Fucking hell. Like, it's just not good enough. It isn't. And again, we can talk about Villa Park all we want. I'm talking about the season as a whole. We're not scoring enough goals and we're not creating enough chances. And we don't look like we've got a player who, for me, I can't see any of the attackers who look like they're really going to hit the high notes. Enter the Void says not good enough. Noaz says, oh, sorry, the comments coming thick and fast and I've just ballsed up by missing that one. Sorry, Nuaz, I forgot. I missed what you said. Akash K says, Jay, I can't lie, but it's a travesty how Garnacho started ahead of Ahmad. I'm convinced Ahmad will have to leave to save his United career. Callum says 14th is embarrassing. TJ says 5 goals in 7, yikes. Kenny says fans so negative. I love the current situation. I think we should score less and lose more. Would be mint. Leron Venado says our goal scoring won't change because we don't have goal scorers. Bruno hasn't scored in the league. Marcus is off it. That's a big issue, isn't it? You know what worries me slightly is sometimes you'll have a striker where you know he's going to get you loads of goals. You remember when Harry Kane used to have a slow start? He had this thing, didn't he, where he didn't score in August for like 8 years or whatever.
You know that's going to come good.
You know at the end of the season, Harry Kane's going to have 20 Premier League goals minimum.
Yeah.
That will happen as sure as night follows day. I look at it and I think, potentially, Marcus might get 20 goals this season. He's done it before. Potentially, Amad Diallo could surprise us all and end up getting 20 goals. Potentially, Rasmus Højlund. We don't know that. I'm not expecting it. Rasmus Højlund I don't think has ever got 20 goals in a season. Certainly not in the Premier League, which, fair enough. He's only a kid or whatever. Diallo, I think his best he's ever done is in the Championship with 13. Garnacho, similar numbers. Bruno hasn't really been that goal scorer he was. So that's the worry I've got is I'm looking at this attack and I'm thinking, it's more hope than expectation for those goals.
Yeah, it certainly is. And when you are looking at that and we're not getting goals from the way that the setup at the moment, what's the alternative that you're putting forward? And this was a problem last year when we were conceding goals. Change it so we're not conceding goals. You need to have alternatives. You knew who you identified to come in the summer. They made the decision that they weren't going to go out and get a number 9. They were hoping that Højlund would come through and bear more fruit, and obviously Rash would have a better season than the low bar that he set himself last season. Again, these are all hopes. But if that doesn't work, what is your alternative? What is your other way of playing football? And as it stands, should Ten Hag keep his job, we should have an easy run of games the other side of the international break. I still don't see where we score goals. We can shut up shop and get draws and 0-0. Yeah. Maybe it's get a 1-0. And you can look at the likes of Højlund and Rashford as being our main outlets for goals. We're not chipping in anywhere else around the park. Bruno hit the bar today, but he hasn't scored in the league all season.
No, you're right, and it is a worry, and it's not an obvious one where you go, okay, this guy's just in a bit of a rut, or this guy's been unlucky, or you can see what's happening here. There's just been far too many games where we're just not in it. We're just not in the game because of our lack of goals. Ross Murphy, who's been a member of the Academy for 49 months, just want to take a moment as well. Thank Ross. He's the moderator on our chat, obviously supported the channel since full-time Devils days, and then when we took over as Stretford Paddock, and he's a big asset. He says, my worry is if we do sack Ten Hag, I don't want it to be we sacked him and not have a plan. If there is no plan sacking him, then stick with Ten Hag. There has to be a plan. That's a fair point. There needs to be a plan, and you'd think there would be, but we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. It's a big 2 weeks now for Eric Ten Hag. It's a big week if they're going to have this meeting. I think it's Tuesday. Don't quote me on that. Where they're going to have this meeting. So they're all going to be there. We saw them all in the stands, didn't we? Joel Glazer apparently is coming in as well. I think Joel Glazer will do whatever they suggest. I think if they say to Joel Glazer, we're gonna stick with this manager or we're gonna sack him, he'll go, okay. I don't think he's gonna be massively like, well, I think you should appoint this guy because he seems a bit clueless.
Well, as far as I read the situation, they may discuss it with Joel Glazer, but in terms of the footballing decisions, I thought that was purely down to Ineos. And from what Sir Jim Ratcliffe was saying, was it in Barcelona last week, that the decision will be down to the likes of Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth, 2 people who weren't officially at the club when Ten Hag signed his contract extension, which allows them a get-out clause to say, well, we didn't agree to him carrying on for me. And I think that would be the sort of PR spin that they
That's
put
the get-out-jail-free card.
That's the way it doesn't look like...
I was on gardening leave.
What now to do with me?
This guy was given a 1-year extension, however you want to term it. Brendan McGuckin says, 3 of those 5 were against the Saints. They were. This is my Roderick. Says, I will stick to play Apex Legends video games even, thanks. Negative free zone, positive energy, and no stress and pain watching United break time. Jesus Christ says, oh no, sorry, I've already read that out. Xerxes getting a lot of stick here. Sir Jimmy says, Xerxes looks like Lukaku 2.0. Busher says, Xerxes is a pure donkey. God bless him. I'll be honest with you about Xerxes. I've seen glimpses of what I like about him. Is he going to get enough goals? Probably not. It's not the end of the world if others are chipping in, and if he chips in with a certain amount. I do think it's too early, though. I do think that. And I think if you look historically, not just at United, but historically, a lot of strikers or attackers in the first sort of 10 games, 7 or 8 games of Premier League, people have written him off. I'm not comparing him, right, because he's nowhere near in the same class or whatever. But even players who went on to smash it, like I remember Arsenal fans question on Henry when he arrived. Remember when he was like, good enough. And I'm not saying Xerxes is going to be Henry. He's not, obviously not. But my point is, it takes a little while to come into English football and get going. So I'm going to reserve judgment on Joshua Xerxes. I understand why people are a little bit underwhelmed, but I also think we need to remember that this guy was brought in off the back of 12 goals for Bologna last season. Is he going to be prolific?
And he wasn't brought in with the reputation of being an out-and-out striker. Certainly not in the same vein that Rasmus Højlund was brought in last summer. And a lot of people said, okay, we'll give him time because, again, he's a young kid. He probably needed a season to get up to speed. He has had injuries. Should we not be looking at him or criticising him? Højlund doesn't come under the same sort of fire as a Rashford or Xerxes seems to be getting today.
Højlund last season, you make a good point there. I think this is the thing with Højlund as well. Højlund's most prolific season was at Atalanta the season before we bought him, where he got 9 goals in 32 in the league and 10 in total. I thought it was a bit more than that, so forgive me, I've misquoted that before. Last season he got 10 in the Premier League in 30 games and 60 in all competitions. The issue he had with Rasmus Højlund is it was very much boom and bust, wasn't it?
Yep.
He had that purple patch in the Champions League where he scored 5 goals, I think it was in 6 games. Didn't score in the Premier League for about 14 games. Had a mad spell where he scored 7 in 6. Then had another barren spell, then scored 3 in 4 or whatever. That always worries me with strikers when you have this sort of, they fall off a cliff. And because if you look at Romelu Lukaku, someone mentioned earlier, Romelu Lukaku's record for Manchester United is 42 goals in 96 games. 42 in 96 looks fine.
1 in 2.
Yeah, it's basically 1 in 2, which is sort of the benchmark. But the problem you have with Romelu Lukaku is he scored 9 in his first 10, then scored 1 in his next 10. He didn't score against any. I think he scored 1 goal against the top 6 in his entire time in the first. I think it was his entire time there. And also, he set up 2 City goals in the derby. So it doesn't give you the full context of how. And let's not forget the memes and the fact he piled on a load of weight after the World Cup. So it doesn't give you the full context of just looking at numbers. You need to look at how those numbers are made up. And the issue you've got with Rasmus Højlund, he hasn't consistently throughout the season sort of scored goals. I like the kid, but I think this is the season where you want to see him kick on. This is the season where you need to see Marcus step up, maybe Garnacho kick on, maybe someone like Amad Diallo weigh in a little bit more. And at the minute, we're not really seeing it, are we?
But are we set up for a striker though? If you look at how we played today, how many balls were there coming into the box for Højlund to get onto the end of? We've got 2 brilliantly creative players that should be able to find a pass and what they were signed for in Bruno Fernandes and Christian Eriksen.
Yeah.
How many through balls were there for some people to run onto?
No, there wasn't.
Our best chances came from Rashford outside of the box.
Yeah, there was the 2 chances from Marcus.
So it's all right pelting the strikers or the potential goal scoring threat that's at the spear end. But if everyone behind him isn't doing their job, then you've got to look. I think you've got to look deeper within the midfield.
Mark Ennis says, Caddy's Head Sapphires, under 12 girls, 5-0 win, happy days. Have they got an under 7s team or under 8s? Because my little girl's looking for a team. She goes to school in Earlham. Napoleon Solo says, there is no team play, hence the frustration of all our centre forwards for years now. Coach Zach, USMC vet, who's been a member of the first team for 45 months. Thank you for your support. So this is basically going to be a stay of execution then, right? We have found a mix of Van Gaal and Ralph Ball. Boring and lacking teeth in attack. Non-offensive YouTube channel says Højlund had 2 injuries last season too. Fair enough. Kieran says Xerxes isn't a number 10 or 9 on the menu in the local Chinese. Oh dear. Rafa D says I miss Cavani. Højlund miscontrols every single pass. Make sure you are hitting that like button, please, people. Let me ask you a very straightforward question. Will Erik ten Hag be in the Manchester United dugout for the Brentford game?
I don't think he will.
Okay.
I don't think he will. I think that the decision won't have been made just on today's performance because it couldn't have done. I think it's everything leading up today, especially this season, and that we're sort of languishing in 14th, putting up the least amount of goals in a Premier League season since 1972, 1973. The football is abysmal. We've been diabolical in the Europa League, just getting 2 draws in games that we should have won. That competition, as far as I'm concerned, is Manchester United's best hope and where we are in the league and maybe our only hope of getting Champions League football next season. After the international break, Man United have got to go to Fenerbahce to face Jose Mourinho. Do I trust Ten Hag with that European record as the manager to go and get points over there that may make or break the season? Because as it stands, I think that it's salvageable. I'm not wholly convinced with some of the language of the players that were going off, that they won't play for the manager anymore, but whilst trying to look professional on the pitch. So for me, I just can't see it.
Fair enough. I think you're right. I'd be surprised. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been very surprised by Manchester United poster Alex Ferguson, but I'd be surprised if we see Erik ten Hag in a dugout for the Brentford game. We'll have to wait and see what happens. There is a meeting this week, so we'll see whether that is going to be the sort of the end of Erik ten Hag's time at United, or he gets the dreaded vote of confidence, or whatever goes on. I'm going to be back later on. We're going to get all the quotes from the press conference. We're going to get some clips from the press conference as well. We're also going to look at what Sir Jim Ratcliffe said recently about Erik ten Hag. So we're going to do a little bit of a live later on when we've had a chance to digest everything, so we can all go over that. You can join us for that. Also, we'll be hearing from Stephen Howson as well, so make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Go and check out Scotty on the Scotty and Motti podcast. You know where to find me. That's been Scotty. I've been Jay. This has been a review. Manchester United 0-0 at Villa Park. Thanks for watching.